In her desperate obsession to become one with the person she loved, she surgically altered his mouth, replacing it with something far more grotesque, believing this would finally allow them to truly merge into one being. Lisa's fixation on Ah Hong had long since crossed the line into pathology. She followed him every day, slept each night clutching a sculpture she had made in his likeness, and most disturbingly of all hid in the shadows beneath his bed while he slept. Ah Hong was a sculptor, but his latest exhibition had left him unsettled. His girlfriend Wang Yue had taken one look at his work and stormed off in fury. The sculpture was unmistakably modeled after her. He tried calling to apologize on his way home, but she wouldn't pick up. Back at the apartment, he sat down to eat and bit into something nauseating, a clump of hair buried in his food. Before he could collect himself, frantic pounding erupted at the front door, growing louder with every second. Stealing himself, Ah Hong peered through the peephole and met a pair of pitch-black eyes staring coldly back at him. He slammed the deadbolt shut. An instant later, the noise stopped completely. He checked the hallway. Empty. He exhaled. His phone rang. It was Wang Yue, calling to apologize for overreacting. They made plans to go out together the following day, and Ah Hong finally began to relax, entirely unaware of the pallid arm slowly reaching out from beneath his bed. The next day, the two had a wonderful time at an amusement park, but when they returned to the exhibition hall, they found the sculpture smashed to pieces. Ah Hong spotted a figure fleeing down the corridor and gave chase, only to feel something coil around his body, stopping him cold. He stumbled into the studio, the sound of approaching footsteps pressing closer. Instinctively, he tightened his grip on the sculpting knife in his hand. He spun around. The shadow was gone. By the time Wang Yue caught up, Ah Hong was already lying on the floor, lifeless. His eye sockets had caved inward, his eyes were simply gone. The next day, a woman appeared at Ah Hong's funeral. She slapped Wang Yue hard across the face in front of everyone, then pressed her lips to Ah Hong's portrait like someone staking a territorial claim. This was Lisa, the woman from the beginning. Consumed by jealousy over Wang Yue, she had destroyed the sculpture with her own hands that day, and she had been standing right there when Ah Hong died. The following day, Lisa spent hours at the library combing through news archives, and she found something. A student had died under bizarre circumstances in a public restroom not long before, and the residue left at the scene had gradually formed three characters: Huohuo Nu, the Huohuo woman. To verify the lead, Lisa tracked down Xiaoquan, who had been connected to the first known incident. He knew little more than she did about the legend of Huohuo Nu, but as they parted, he offered one crucial detail: the entity's real name might be Yoshida Yuri. As the story went, Yoshida had harbored a quiet, years-long crush on her classmate Takuya. One day, she finally summoned the courage to write him a confession letter. The class turned it into a joke. Takuya treated her affection as a personal humiliation. He tore the letter apart in front of everyone and screamed at her to go die. That afternoon, Yoshida jumped from the school building. A week later, a boy named Bozai walked into the classroom and seemed to see something that shattered him entirely. He crammed himself into a nearby locker, babbling incoherent apologies over and over. Minutes later, he bolted out of the classroom in a frenzy. When they found him, he was dead, his body impaled into a bundle of harvested grain. The legend of Huohuo Nu had begun. Takuya's fate made a certain grim sense. But what had Ah Hong ever done? Searching for an answer, Lisa tracked down a survivor from another known case, a man referred to as Mingren. He had been lucky, in a manner of speaking. Rather than dying, he had lost his mind. His friends said that before the breakdown, Mingren had been seeing a dark figure everywhere he went. Once, he woke to find his room covered wall to wall in the words "I love you." The same thing had been happening in the days leading up to his collapse. Huohuo Nu had been following him constantly, whispering that she loved him. The investigation left Lisa spiraling. She had found no leads whatsoever connecting Ah Hong to Huohuo Nu, and to make everything worse, Wang Yue had the nerve to taunt her openly. Lisa stormed home, vented her rage, and eventually went quiet. But she wasn't giving up. She built a pressure cooker bomb. Meanwhile, Huohuo Nu had latched onto a married couple in another part of the city. A ritual specialist arrived at the husband's home. His expression gave the spiritual malice in the house was overwhelming, he said. He couldn't handle it alone. He would need his apprentices to arrive tomorrow before they could perform the full ceremony. For tonight, he instructed, just place the holy water around the bedroom. That would be enough to keep them safe. It wasn't enough. Huohuo Nu came in anyway. The husband was an abuser. His wife's life in that house was a cycle of beatings and screaming. And before bed, he had poured out the holy water. Without that barrier, Huohuo Nu had free passage. What made the situation stranger still was that someone else was hiding in the house, Lisa, who had come with the intention of killing Huohuo Nu. But Huohuo Nu paid Lisa no attention whatsoever. She was entirely focused on the abusive husband. After the husband died, the wife thought her nightmare was finally over. But Huohuo Nu didn't leave. She transferred her fixation to the woman's son, Yang. The wife urgently summoned the ritual specialist to perform an exorcism. As the incantations rose, Yang writhed on the floor in agony. Then the specialist let out a sudden shout. A cold wind swept through the room, and he collapsed. Huohuo Nu had taken control of him. Determined to save her son herself, the wife set out to investigate. Before leaving, she warned Yang sternly, "Whatever happened, do not speak to Huohuo Nu." She hadn't anticipated Lisa. From her surveillance, Lisa had been watching the household's every movement. The moment the wife stepped out, Lisa slipped in and took Yang away. Back at Lisa's home, she had laid out a ritual formation made of small cookies. When she saw them crushed underfoot, she knew Huohuo Nu had arrived. She activated the aerosol spray, and then, just as she was about to detonate the pressure cooker bomb, the remote control failed. She hurled a basin of holy water instead. It burned. Hua Nu let out a hideous scream, but still did not acknowledge Lisa's existence. She dragged herself, inch by inch, toward Yangi, and then Yangi did something that completely disoriented her. He said he liked her. No one had ever said that before. Every other target had rejected her, and she had killed them for it. But now, faced with acceptance, she didn't know what to do, and before she could respond, she felt her body beginning to dissolve. A scream, and then nothing but her empty clothes on the floor. Yangi's mother had found the answer. When she had left that morning, she had made her way without difficulty to the Yoshida family home. What she found there upended everything. Yoshida had not died when she jumped from the school building. Badly injured and too ashamed to return, she had simply dropped out of school. She was alive. If it wasn't Yoshida, then who or what was Hua Nu? Before the mother left, Yoshida offered one final piece of information. After her jump, heartbroken and limping, she had made her way to a tree on the mountain known as the Duanyuan tree, the tree of severed ties. There she had written Takuya's name on a strip of paper and pinned it to the tree with a sickle-shaped blade, hoping to cut the bond between them forever, so their paths would never cross again. The mother went up the mountain. When she reached the tree, she stood frozen in shock. The trunk was bristling with blades, dozens, perhaps hundreds, each one pinning a name to the bark. Names of the dead. Among them, her husband, and her son, Yangi. She wrenched every blade free with everything she had. The curse collapsed. Elsewhere, Hua Nu dissolved with it. The next day, two familiar faces surfaced. Xiaoquan, it turned out, had been one of Takuya's longtime bullying victims. That period of his life had never left him. Then one day, by chance, he had stumbled upon Yoshida carving Takuya's name into the tree, and within a single night, Takuya had died under mysterious circumstances. From that moment, Xiaoquan had understood there was something deeply unnatural about that tree. After that, whenever someone at work got under his skin, he would carve their name into the Duanyuan tree. Ahong and Mingren had both died this way. He had even carved Yangi's name. Lisa, having pieced together the truth, didn't spare Xiaoquan a second glance. Her mind was fixed entirely on one thing: avenging Ahong. She threw the pressure cooker bomb at the base of the tree without hesitation. The explosion split the Duanyuan tree at its trunk, and fate, as if delivering one final cruel punchline, sent a sickle blade spinning through the blast and drove it straight into Xiaoquan's heart. A bloody end to everything the tree had set in motion.